All right, welcome to your very last unit of eighth grade. You have made it to Reconstruction. Congratulations. You have lessons in this unit, and it'll go by really, really fast. So just remembering our norms, we need to have our notes in front of us or on our Chromebook. We need to be listening with a purpose. So we're not talking to our friends while we are listening to the lesson. We are not playing games on our Chromebooks. We are listening to the actual lesson and we are taking notes. There's quite a few things that are left out of this note packet because you have to actually write it down. So you are going to ninth grade in less than 9 weeks. And so we have to really get ready for what note taking will look like in a lecture classroom. So make sure you are taking notes when I say write this down. You're pausing and you're writing it down. So we are not entering into a fun, happy chapter whatsoever. So I want to just set the groundwork there. As we have learned throughout U.S. History 1, it's not always been a pleasant story, and we're not going to end on a pleasant story. So just as a reminder, you are going to learn things that are facts that have happened. They are not my beliefs. They are not my ideas. They are facts. And so as we dive into it, some of the topics, again, will be uncomfortable. Some of the topics, again, will feel weird to talk about, or we're not sure how to talk about it. And so we are learning how to communicate. We are learning that sometimes history is really hard to learn and sometimes history is really hard to talk about. And so we're learning on how to learn about things that are uncomfortable and talk about things that can be uncomfortable. So we're going to dive right in. Great picture right here that just kind of sets the stage for what we are about to jump into. So we are in 1865 to 1877. Our course ends in year 1777. So this time period is called Reconstruction. So we're going to start with the election of Abraham Lincoln, his second term. By the end of this, you'll be able to look at Lincoln and his assassination. We are going to be able to evaluate legislative reform programs of the Radical Reconstruction Congress and Reconstruction State Government. So we are going to look at who the Radical Republicans are and what their plan was, and you'll be able to explain economic, political, and social problems. You are going to need to identify what is a social problem, what is a political problem, and what is an economic problem. You will have test questions with that wording on it. So Lincoln is reelected pretty easily. In the middle, kind of towards the end of the Civil War, he is easily reelected because the North is winning. So he becomes president for a second term in 1864 with an easy win. Remember, the South is not voting because they are not the United States of America. So this southern area does not vote for Abraham Lincoln because they are not the United States of America. They are the Confederate States of America. In his second inaugural speech, his address to the United States at the time, just those northern states and California, Oregon, someone can tell me what that is, Nevada. He is going to talk about the immorality of slavery, how slavery is bad, it's immoral, it's a sin. He is going to address that the Union should treat the South with respect after the war is over. So at this point, the Union knows they are going to win the war, and Abraham Lincoln is trying to set the stage for what Reconstruction will look like. So as they are ending the war, they're already making a plan. How are we going to readmit those southern states? The southern states aren't going to stay their own country. They're coming back into the Union. And so he is already setting the stage for that to be a respectful transition back in. This is compassion. He's trying to show compassion. He wants to show Northerners how to approach Reconstruction. So this should really setting the stage for you on what Reconstruction is. Unfortunately, not long after that, not long after the war is won, Abraham Lincoln is assassinated. So a few days after the war, he is out of play. Please think time period way before Secret Service or any kind of protection whatsoever for a president or a famous person, so none of that is there. John Wilkes Booth, who is a Southern sympathizer, which means he aligns more with Southern ideals, comes up behind Abraham Lincoln and shoots him in the back of the head. He does not die immediately. He is taken across the street from Ford's Theater. That's where he is shot, in Ford's Theater. Taken across the street, a doctor tries to save him, but he dies the next day. Booth favors the South, and he saw Abraham Lincoln as a tyrant. He felt that because of the Civil War, the federal government had been given too much power. He believed that Abraham Lincoln was controlling the government more than he really should. And so Andrew Johnson, who is Lincoln's vice president, becomes the new president of the United States. And so after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson is now the president. With that starts Reconstruction. So Reconstruction, and Abraham Lincoln would have gone about Reconstruction, but he is killed before he can start. So we're going to look at 3 different plans for Reconstruction. Abraham Lincoln has one of them. It doesn't work because he is assassinated. So just keep that in your mind. So our definition for Reconstruction, it is an era characterized by the rebuilding of the United States with the readmission of the Confederate States to the Union. Reconstruction. So if you think about the word construction is to build, is to like do it over again. So we're rebuilding the United States. What that means is the Confederate States, those southern states, are going to be readmitted. They're going to be brought back into the United States with a new constitution, state constitution. And so that's what this whole chapter is about. How are we going to bring those southern states back into the United States? So we are going to divide this lesson into the key players, which you're in right now. We're kind of setting the legislative, the law, the Congress stage of it. But then we're going to look at the accomplishments of Reconstruction, and then we're going to end with the setbacks of Reconstruction. So this is what it looks like. These are a few of our accomplishments, and these are our setbacks that we are going to look at all of these as we go through. So we're setting the stage for the unit. At the time, the state of the South is in complete repair. We see here one of our political focuses is actually rebuilding the South. That's economically, socially, and politically. The physical and the economic situation of the South is just absolutely horrible. Total warfare. Remember, Sherman is going to just destroy every part of the South. As his soldiers come through and take over a city, they burn it to the ground. And so the South is completely destroyed. This is going to lead to high food prices and a widespread crop failure. The South is in an economic depression for sure. With farms, with plantations and homes destroyed, there's no way for the South to make any money whatsoever. This then is leading to bankruptcy of businesses and failure of the bank. The South is its own country. It has its own currency. You looked at that in your mystery boxes as our bridge activity. They have their own currency. They have their own government. It's all been absolutely destroyed. And so these are real pictures from the Civil War, or Reconstruction. The Civil War is the first war where photographs are actually taken and used. And so with the failure of the banks and the businesses, their money has no value. On top of that, they're entering back into the United States, and so their money has no value anyways, but it has no value as they're moving into that readmission phase because there is absolutely no money. So if you have studied World War II or you enjoy that time period, this is what Germany would have looked like after World War II because most of the fighting happened there during World War II. And so buildings bombed, homes gone, farms gone, everything is absolutely gone. So as much as we like to dislike the South because of their ideas towards humanity, they as well are suffering. And so it's just two sides of the coin here. That's all I'm trying to get at. So this is what the South looks like. This is what the South has to repair as they come back in. So I told you there's going to be 3 plans to Reconstruction. The first one is Abraham Lincoln's. His plan is to really just readmit. I just gave you the Reconstruction definition again. He wants to just pretty easily readmit the southern states. He doesn't really want to sweep it under the rug, but he wants to show compassion. So he wants to let every state back in once their people, or 10% of their people, are going to pledge an allegiance to the United States and to ratify the 13th Amendment. We're going to get into the amendments in lesson 2, but that's his plan. So I would highlight those 2 things right here. If you're taking notes, well, you should be taking notes. The oath of the United States and this ratification of the 13th Amendment are really important to his. Remember, we looked at with malice towards none. He does not want anyone to hurt. He has a really, really compassionate heart towards the South, and so he wants to kind of easily bring them back in. He again is assassinated in 1865, so this plan does not work out. Andrew Johnson, remember, you may have to circle his name and put VP next to him, equals president. He was Lincoln's vice president. So with the assassination of Lincoln, he becomes president. He has his own plan. He is president now under Reconstruction. So during the Reconstruction era, it is Andrew Johnson who is the president. So his plan is a little bit different. He has a different plan for Reconstruction. He is a Democrat, and so he sides more with Southern sympathizers. You might want to write that down. He's a Southern sympathizer, which means he believes more with the South. And so he wants the South to be treated mercifully, not because he is compassionate, but because he is a Southerner. Okay, so he has those ideas. So here's his plan. He wants to appoint temporary governors of each state. Where are my pictures? There we go. He wants to appoint temporary governors of each state. He wants each state to revise their constitution. So maybe you write 1 here, 2 here, 3 here. He wants voters to elect new representation. So they need to elect new senators and new House of Representatives. He wants each state to declare that slavery is illegal, and he wants each state to ratify the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment is going to show up on your test, and it is the plan for Reconstruction because it shows up in everyone's plan for Reconstruction. So that is his plan. We have, not a bad plan. We have a group called Radical Republicans. They are part of the Republican Party, but they are considered a little bit more radical. So it's not the whole Republican Party, but they call them Radical Republicans because they really want to protect the right of freed enslaved people, freed Black people, because they're not longer enslaved. But they also really want to punish the North a little bit. They've got kind of that in their heart as well. So they're going to really take over Congress after Abraham Lincoln is assassinated. That just means there are more radical Republicans or more Republicans that believe with these ideas in Congress than there aren't. And so they have more of the vote. That's what that means. So with the more of the vote, they're able to pass more of the laws that they want. They believe the South should be punished for the secession of the U.S., but they also really do want to protect newly freed people and to help the newly freed people really assimilate into life. So they have the desire for vengeance, but also a good heart as well. Their platform, this just means what they believe in. They're going to be angered by laws that are going to be called black codes. They are going to be passed in the South. Circle this and write, this is supposed to limit newly freed people. That's the point of the black code. So they're angered by it and they want to stop them. That's part of their platform or their ideas. They want the federal government to force the South to change. They fear that Confederate leaders were still in control and would not enforce new laws. So they're afraid that Andrew Johnson's going to appoint those governors, but they're really just Southern sympathizers and they're going to keep their ideals going. They are really pushing that Confederate leaders are denied the ability to have political positions. So if you were a leader in the Confederacy, like a congressman of some sort or a military leader, those radical Republicans are pushing that you are not allowed to hold a political position in the United States. Their plan for Reconstruction, they want to divide the southern states into 5 districts with military presence. So here's our districts. You can see the colors. And that these, I'm running out of time, these districts would have military presence in them. They also want an outline, like an actual plan for how the government is going to have universal male suffrage. So this means all males can vote. Sorry, women, we're almost there. And so they have to outline that. They have to have an actual plan on how they're going to give every male, no matter their ethnicity, their right to vote, and they're going to require them to ratify the 14th Amendment. Again, the purpose here is to protect the rights of African Americans in the South. That's really what they're trying to do here. And they really hate Johnson. Carpetbaggers, we just got 2 different groups of people. Carpetbaggers and scallywags. Scallywags are Southerners who, Southerners who want to help in the process. Okay, so they are kind of outsiders there in the South. And then carpetbaggers are coming from the North to the South to help rebuild. So those are our people. Scallywags, I remember Southerners because it starts with an S. Carpetbaggers, they call them carpetbags. They pack their bags and they would come to the North. There we go. We looked at them already. And then they want to impeach Johnson. We're probably going to have a second video over this because my time is running out. Yep, we're going to pause here and we'll have another video over the impeachment of Johnson.